It somehow got even better for the Washington Capitals as GM Chris Patrick just inked what's going to be the best contract in the NHL as Logan Thompson is now inked for under $6 million a year. We got to dive into that, plus the future of the Capitals, as not only is Ovechkin playing great, there are more reports coming out linking the Capitals to some pending free agent star players, including one from the New York Islanders. We got to dive into all this stuff that's happening coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we get into the video, as always, guys, we got to remind you, 93% of our viewers are not subscribed. We have content from all across the NHL for your favorite team, whether it's the Washington Capitals or someone else entirely. We have daily NHL coverage, a lot of the time multiple videos a day. So if that sounds good to you, you want to stay up to date, hit the subscribe button down below. It's completely free. Mark, we got to talk about this first. Let's get straight into Logan Thompson. My gosh, what a revelation he has been this year for the Washington Capitals. He's getting paid under $800,000 this year, and he just signed a 6-year extension with the Caps at an only $5.85 million AAV. He's a pending UFA, but my goodness, the numbers are unbelievable. He's only making $766,000 this year, as I've said. Vegas is holding on to no money. The Capitals are getting a guy under $1 million. He's been one of the best goalies in the league, right there at the top. And now he's locked in for less than $6 million. If you flash up the stats, they speak for themselves, Mark. This is unreal. That .925 save percentage, the 2.09 GAA in 27 games. I mean, what do you make of this? I mean, good for him for getting the bag. I mean, long-term security for him, I'm sure, is big, but like, holy crap, I can't help but look at this and think that this is a huge steal.
I mean, looking at this, Vegas kind of screwed up. Moving on from a guy like Logan Thompson, the Washington Capitals has got an all-star goaltender. I still don't know how he never got invited to the Four Nations. They also get him locked up as the goalie of the future of this team. He seems like the most stable guy they've had in net since Braden Holtby. He brings such a different element to this team, not only with the under $1 million cap, which we had to go double check to make sure Vegas was not retaining money on this guy. Going 22, 2, and 3, this guy is going to be a Vezina caliber or Vezina finalist. And the biggest thing with this, he's already playing at such a high level and only getting under $6 million. This is going to be an absolute steal of a contract, especially where you get him from the ages of 27 all the way to 34. Josh, looking at this, I would say he's a top 5 goaltender, maybe even, well, top 2 for sure this season, but he's a top 5 goaltender in the league right now. Do you think this is the best goalie contract across the entire National Hockey League?
Look, I'm a person who tends to hold out judgment until we see how this ends up. Because, I mean, he's been injured a few times in the past, right? Like, there are going to be some question marks. But based on what we've seen that he is able to do, yeah, his path to the NHL is not typical. The best player to ever come out of Canadian university sport, probably. He went to Brock University, then to the ECHL, then to the AHL, and it took him a while to break into the league finally. And yeah, he's never really played that many games in a season. So if you lock him in as your number one guy through his prime, which, goalie prime's right around the length of this contract right now, your late 20s, early 30s. He's never played a lot of games, but like I have a hard time saying that this is not going to be worth it. I think it's at least going to be worth it, but I think this legitimately could be one of the best, if not the best contract very, very soon. But I think this signifies something even bigger for the Washington Capitals. Is not only does this lock in your goalie for this next push, it signifies to me that Washington is ready to kind of not even move into, just almost stay in the phase they're in, because they're the first seed right now in the East. They have 71 points there. I mean, you could argue that they're the best team in the league this year. And Alex Ovechkin is playing unbelievable for his age. To me, this Logan Thompson contract not only signifies they're ready to keep competing, but it also keeps the flexibility open for other things. As we see here via Hockey News colleague Stefan Rosner, industry sources say the Capitals have reached out about Islanders center Brock Nelson as a potential forward rental option for the playoffs. So, Mark, with all this happening, Washington having some young guys who are all breaking out at the same time, rumors for them going for Brock Nelson this year, signing Logan Thompson to a contract extension. I think it's not very long ago that a lot of us were saying, all right, Capitals are over the hill, time to tear it down. They flipped the script a complete 180 this year. I don't even know if I'm looking at the same team anymore.
Yeah, the biggest thing and I do think Brock Nelson would fit this team perfectly. 15 goals, 16 assists for 31 points this year, playing just about 19 minutes time on ice. This would be the perfect third-line center on a team inspiring to win another Stanley Cup. We see Ovi chasing Gretzky's record. We see a young team of other guys that we're going to touch on, bringing in more veteran leadership to add to this team, even if he wants to play up the lineup, if you want to slide someone to the wing. This would be one of the deepest and most strong center cores in the league right now. I mean, you don't have a number one player in the entire league. Ovi is very close to it at how he's been playing. But Strome, you can have Pierre-Luc Dubois. and Brock Nelson down the middle. That's pretty darn good in my opinion. And I do think with the way they're playing, it kind of makes it hard for the general manager to not look at this team and be like, hey, we're going to go out and give you more players. We're going to get you more just star-studded talent to add to this roster to go for a deep run. Looking at this, Josh, how good they've been playing, would you be surprised if they didn't look at this team and said, hey, we think we legitimately have a chance to win a Stanley Cup this year. Let's go in this year.
I mean, like, if you're in the conversation for some of these top names who are pending UFAs, I think that immediately tells me that you're trying to fight to be a contender. And I think Washington, I mean, already, you're first in the East. Like, I think if you're not saying that already before talking about these other moves, then you're kind of crazy. This team's unbelievable. They're getting amazing goaltending. And hey, if Thompson keeps up what he's doing, Lindgren has had a little bit of a rough stretch, but he's not been a bad backup. He's had a lot of great games this year, including like a save of the year candidate. Right? This dude's been unreal. Ovechkin is tearing it up. But again, like you said, Strome, and it's really these young guys. If we take a look at their stats, have they ever propped this team up? Honestly, surprising. Dylan Strome painting himself as like a #1 center in the league. Now, again, almost point per game. You could argue like amazing 2C, but he's their 1C and is working well. You even got a guy like Aliaksei Protas, who's quite young, 41 points, 20 goals in 49 games. This dude's going to be a 30 goal scorer out of almost nowhere. Pierre-Luc Dubois having a real nice bounce back, or even Connor McMichael finally taking that leap. Look at all the centers on this list, not to mention the fact that John Carlson is aging pretty gracefully right now, and a guy like Ovi. The pieces are already there on this team, and if they can go in and add a guy like Nelson, I don't see why they can't be pushing for that Stanley Cup. But this brings me to a question about their future. I think that's how we'll cap off this video. Again, Ovi's not getting any younger. You got some interesting contracts on the team. But as you look towards the future, this signing of Logan Thompson, to circle back on that, signifies to me that they're ready to kind of go in with the guys they have now. They're ready to commit to guys like Protas, guys like Strome, guys like McMichael, right? All these guys, even Pierre-Luc Dubois to some extent. These younger guys who are showing like, hey, no, we are really good. They're kind of the backbone of this team right now. Obviously, they do have some vets who are doing well, but to have that be your backbone and be as successful as they are, I think this makes a lot of sense. And I mean, honestly, I don't see any reason Washington can't be a competitor in that Metro division for a few years to come. And I honestly, like, if you asked me the question about the state of the team last year, I'd be nowhere close to this.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this team, and not a lot of teams are in the situation where they can say, hey, we're competing this year. We have our guy that's going to be 40 in a couple of years. That's our biggest player. But you also don't have a team that can say that, but also say, hey, our window's still not closed. We still have 5, 6, 7 years. We have this young core that you went through. Dylan Strome. You can work your way down this list. There's so many guys. There's so much reinforcement coming up from the juniors as well. Even a guy like Cole Hudson is going to join this team. Yeah. You have so much star-studded talent, young guys, and cap space to work with this Capitals team. You can go out, you can acquire a guy like Brock Nelson, who's only a $6 million cap. Now, obviously, the closer you get to deadline, the smaller this cap actually will be, but they have the room to add more talent to this team. They still have a young core that they don't need to touch in any trades, as they still have prospects, draft picks. This is a team that's going to compete not only this year, and like you said, for the years to come. And I think personally, they're in one of the best spots in the NHL, definitely top 5. When you're looking at longevity with this core, looking at this, how would you rank them among the rest of the league on just how they stack up against teams that are competing now versus how their window looks in the years to come?
Beating now, I mean, they're up there with the best, which is, again, something I never thought I'd say, but I can't argue with the results on paper. Like, this is a team last year that had a horrible goal differential. They figured some things out. Spencer Carberry has seemed to work out very well for them, and right now they're rolling. Like, they have one of the better goal differentials in the league after having a horrible one last year. So, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say because a lot of these guys, like, I didn't expect a guy like Protas to step up as big as he did. A guy like McMichael, I knew Strome was good, but maybe not this good, right? Pierre-Luc Dubois, we knew he had talent, but to be this level, it's hard for me to actually say how good I think they'll be in a few years because, again, aging curves are weird and a lot of players don't follow linear paths. We don't know if Logan Thompson's going to stay at this level, and if he regresses to like even an NHL average starter, that is going to hurt the team as well, right? Even a guy like Strome, if he kind of drops down to maybe back where he was, like a 60, 65 point player, I don't know. There's a lot of question marks, but all that to say, they've done a lot of the right things. They have guys, they have a successful thing right now. And I think in the NHL, if you have a team that's first in the conference, a team that is one of the best in the league, and you see it succeeding with a lot of the guys probably statistically not going to, fall off a cliff or anything in a couple of years, I think you go all in for it. And you kind of go for it. You set this up for a few years to come. So I'm excited for him. And I want to hear what you guys have to say down below, because there might be some question marks, but you cannot argue with the results right now. That'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And you'll want to tune into all our videos coming up very soon as we head towards the deadline. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.